but there's only one big broad category that I want to discuss here, which is cardio. And this is something that, if we're talking about general health, you probably want to be doing more aerobic cardio, especially, than the vast majority of people actually do, right? Like that's, most people just don't do enough aerobic cardio, right? So that's one of the things. If you're doing sports, you're probably not even doing enough aerobic cardio then. Like it's very rare, unless you're talking about actual athletes, that do enough aerobic cardio, right? So, and that's especially true of the strength sports, where people are just, they just don't do any cardiovascular work whatsoever, and it probably does limit their progression in general, right? So I would say cardio across the board is underutilized as a skill. The only time it's probably overutilized is when we're talking about like endurance athletes and stuff, and they probably bring it to the absolute limit and beyond of what is actually required to improve health, and they're just doing stuff that's improving performance, and which is, you know, fantastic and everything. And again, it's hard to fully decipher where that benefit, you know, stops, because a lot of those individuals are also on drugs, as you know, like Tour de France athletes and stuff. It's like, you know, drugs are very prominent. So we have to consider that stuff. We have to look into it. For the vast majority of people, I would say cardiovascular work is only going to improve their results in terms of what they're looking for. The unfortunate thing is that it just takes time. Oftentimes it's quite boring. Like if you do like 90 minutes of cardio, that's kind of just boring. So you know, you have to consider that stuff. Do you have anything to say on the cardio aspect? Because we've discussed it in one, it was the last episode, but I think the vast majority of people just underutilize cardio.
Yeah, I mean, it works and it works fantastically. And that's kind of one of the things, is that like it doesn't seem like spending 90 minutes where you're not necessarily that short of breath. Like, yeah, you're short of breath, you're working, you're sweating, but you're not killing yourself. It doesn't seem like that would be that productive. And it's certainly not as sexy as going in and doing a 1 hour or 30-minute like hit session where you're dying throughout the session. But it really does work. You know, it's for something that's quite low fatigue. If you have the time, I think there's a huge health and performance benefit to be gotten from doing those kind of longer, steady state cardio sessions. You know, there's not too much else to it really from a health perspective. You absolutely should be getting it in. You know, the basic health recommendations are, you know, 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. Then it's 75 to 150 of vigorous exercise. I think a lot of people, when they do their cardio, they probably straddle between the moderate and the vigorous, really. If you look at like the classification, some people closer to vigorous, but the point still stands that like you should be getting at least 150 minutes of that type of cardio per week before you even consider your resistance training from a basic health perspective. And if you're not getting that, it's worth trying to factor that in. And it's a lot. Like that's, you know, 5 30-minute sessions per week or 3 50-minute sessions per week. And the vast majority of people are not achieving that. And I even find with my own clients that it can be difficult to get people to that level. So I think that it is a big win, a big area that could be exploited to try to improve your health long term. And I think because it can be achieved with relatively low levels of fatigue, and it can improve your fatigue tolerance in life otherwise, that I think that, yeah, it's worth doing if you have the chance.
Yeah, like as we discussed in the last episode, it is relatively easy to increase this stuff, but at the same time, it still does require time. And unfortunately, time is something that is not exactly, you know, out there that we can just go, oh yeah, let's just create more time. Like we have work, jobs, etc. to do, family, other, you know, things. And like if I didn't have jujitsu to do, like I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't hit the target myself. Like I'm not going in to do an hour to 90 minutes, 4 nights per week of cardiovascular conditioning. Fuck no, you know, it's just boring, you know, in my mind anyway, you know. And some people obviously love going for a run or doing whatever, but you know, wouldn't be me. Um, but yeah, that's all I really have to say on this. Obviously, again, we could be here all day discussing all the nuances. But do you have anything else to say to wrap this up, Gary?
No, that's it.